Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to do a video where I talk about some of the most haunted places in England. If you'd like to see me do a video where I talk about other countries, other places, let me know. Let's go Johnny Bravo talking about some of the most very haunted places in England. St Brival's Castle. This place is very close to me. And hypothetically, I'm not promising anything, but I'm going to try and find someone to join me to visit this castle. This castle was built in 1131 by Milo Fitzwalter. He, according to everyone on the internet, created the tradition where you throw bread and cheese on a Sunday. I mean, I love bread and cheese, so hearing that people wasted it throwing it at a castle isn't my style. Nearby to the castle, the Earl of Hereford decided to collect woods. According to a lot of the people who live nearby, this wood was actually lucky. On Christmas Day in 1143, Milo, who had created the castle, passed away and gave it on to his son. It is now used as a hostel and people have been experiencing a lot of activity in the castle. Since it is best known as a haunted castle, I'm guessing so many people will stay there purely to see the ghosts, which I mean same, so obviously there are a lot of interesting stories. If you go there today, the aura of the building makes you feel very uneasy, but not just because of the ghosts, but because of the graffiti on the walls. So let's get on to the ghosts of the lovely St Brival's Castle. So the first ghost I'd like to mention is the one that is known to be in King John's room. This baby can be heard crying and is the most persistent of the spirits. So imagine you're laying there and you're sleeping and you're like, yeah, sleep. And suddenly you hear a baby and there's no baby in the building. That would terrify me, but also I'd be like, girl, get your camera out, investigate that stuff. Visitors have had their clothes tugged on.
Scary.
And then some of the ghost figures can include a dog, a grey lady, and a knight in the castle grounds. The Chillingham Castle, and it was built in the 13th century. I'm going to keep looking down for this one because I need to look at my notes. So, King Edward stayed there on his way to battle William Wallace. Then, in 1348, a licence to fortify and crenellate the castle was granted. By 1348, so the same year, the castle was square with towers at each corner. So it looked more like a traditional castle. Since then, the appearance hasn't really changed. So in 1536, it was under siege when the Percy family attacked with cannons against Henry VIII. This one has a lot more of ghost stories. The White Pantry ghost is obviously in the pantry, and it's where the silver was stored, and there was a sort of soldier to guard it. Now there is a white figure that just chills there, and I also have a story for you all. If you don't mind, I'm going to actually physically read this out because I'm not going to remember this. Historically, one night when the footman had turned in to sleep, he was accosted by the lady in white, very pale, and she begged him for water. Thinking it was one of the castle guests, he turned to obey. Suddenly he remembered he was locked in and no visitor could have possibly entered. According to rumour, some people believe that this ghost was possibly poisoned because of her need for water, which I don't know is a very good reason to believe she was poisoned. Then there is another ghost in the chamber. This ghost can be felt by impalpable impressions in the air. It can't be seen, but you can feel it moving, and it can be a chill, dark, creeping sensation, which fuck that. If I felt that, I would run a mile, and I have asthma, so you can tell that I would be very scared. Then there are voices in the chapel. Two men can be heard talking, but it can be impossible to hear them. So imagine you're kind of chilling, just doing something, and you can hear just two men talking, but they're not making any sense. Like, you know when you watch an ASMR, but then you can't understand them, that's what that would be like. And then at night time you can see figures moving in the courtyard, which again is scary, but also could just be shadows. Like, there are so many reasons that these could just be, you know, explained, but also there are some which I'm like, fuck that, I'm out, bye. The most famous ghost of this castle is living in the pink room, the Radiant Boy. This story is so weird. Once the clock hits midnight, you can hear a baby cry. In the past, people have heard like a crying sound, and then as they stop to hear it, a halo would appear. And a young boy in blue has been visiting people who were sleeping. So this ghost is doing things that cannot be explained. I think the scariest part of this is later the bones of a child were found like on the other side of the wall, and it was like decaying and it had blue clothes on. So that thought is so scary. Like imagine experiencing a ghost, and a few years you go into the room next to it and you see the body of the child who was haunting you. That terrifies me. The spirit of Lady Berkeley, or Barclay. Her husband ran off with her sister Henrietta. She was left at the castle with her son. Now she is seen wandering around looking for her husband, you know, wandering around the castle. Where's my husband? Now he is in somewhere else. I mean, he's dead, but he's ran off with his wife's sister. Tower of London. This was founded in 1067 and it is kept as a royal palace and a defence system. A lot of this story is superstition and just history, because this is obviously the Tower of London, so it's a very historical, famous sort of area. If you go to the Tower of London, there will consistently be 6 ravens. This is due to superstitious reasons. Like, they even have got backup birds in case one flies away or one disappears. So there will never ever be 5, there will always be 6. 22 executions took place. Last person to be executed in the Tower of London was a German spy called Joseph Jacobs on August 15th, 1941, after being caught parachuting into England. The chair he was killed in is still there to this day, so if you go visit there, you can be like, I want to go see the chair he died in. Some of the signs that prove it can be the place is haunted include repugnant smells, ice cold rooms, and mischievous poltergeists. Like, there are just endless proofs, but those are like the main ones, the main lads that this place is haunted. Now, you've all heard of Anne Boleyn, but she haunts the Tower of London, and she was beheaded in 1536, in case you didn't already know, and has been seen roaming around the buildings and on the Tower Greens outside. It is said that her headless spirit, so her ghost is headless, wanders around the Chapel of St. Peter, which is where she was buried after her execution. In 1864, a guard a soldier saw the spirit and just like tried to attack him, but obviously, you know, is a ghost. It's gonna go straight through. Another ghost that is known to be in the castle is a mysterious woman in the keep. The visitors know that she is in the room because at first you'll see a white glimpse and then suddenly a terrible old perfume smell, and you'll know the fuck out. Some visitors have said they have felt the world closing in on them, and then chills run up and down their neck and their spine. And then in the more recent years, tourists have felt a tapping on their shoulder. So she's like, hello, I'm a ghost. And if it wasn't bad enough that humans haunted it, it's also haunted by animals. The most known is a bear and a horse, and their eyes will light up at night. Some people have even said that the bear is secretly the devil in disguise and will pull you down with him to hell, or towards whatever you believe in. The Edinburgh South Bridge vaults, and that was built in the 18th century. The reason people believe this building is so haunted and so cursed is because the first person in the building was meant to be the oldest person in the village. However, they passed away before they could go in there, so they were like, let's just get the casket in there. So now that's cursed the building. That's why some people believe this building is so haunted. So the reason this building was created was kind of as a storeroom and distillery and cavern to hold those in. However, they had to cancel that and just stop that because it was very damp and there was no light, so that kind of, you know, didn't really work, and it was really dirty, so they had to figure something out and they just had to leave it. Since it wasn't being used, a lot of Edinburgh's very poor residents went to live there, but they got very sick since it was so insanitary and damp and horrible. The vaults were eventually forgotten about and blocked off. However, in 1980s, which wasn't that long ago. They were rediscovered by Laurie Warren, who was a Scottish rugby internationalist, to, you know, build them back up, make them what they were meant to be, and make them incredible. The vaults are now a nightclub and bar, but some of them are blocked off due to the spookiness, and a lot of ghost tour companies can go chill there and go and explore some of the ghosts. Some paranormal people have even said that the Southbridge vaults are the most haunted places in the UK and have so much proof. So now let's get on to 3 of the most popular ghosts that stay there. One of the most famous ghosts who live there is called Mr. Boots. This evil little creature entity is believed to have murdered a lady and kept her in his house, which is fucking disgusting. So Mr. Boots actually hates people who tour the vaults and will actually attack people or tourers, especially people who will go to where the lady's body was hidden. The most common reports of him being there is actually just hearing his boots. So if you're visiting and you hear boots, like if you hear him walking around,
I'd leave, actually.
The second one is the aristocrat, and is just a gentleman apparently. So the aristocrat is another ghost. He's just a man in a top hat and a beard and just stands there and stares at you and smiles, which sounds very scary and very sinister and would actually make me uncomfortable. But the fact he's a gentleman makes it a little bit less scary than Mr. Boots, but it's still pretty scary. And the most positive ghost that I was able to find is the cobblers. So the cobblers is probably the most positive presence apparently, and he's just a shoemaker. He is described as a short, stocky man just wearing a little leather apron. This place,
Chillingham Castle,
has such an interesting story. This castle was built to symbolise power and status, to protect the border. The castle was attacked in 1173 and 1174 by William the Lion, who was the King of Scotland. He was captured in the second attack and forced to pledge fealty to King Henry. So this castle has been improved so many times, which, you know, the most major one was done by Henry Percy. However, it is still being renovated to keep it up because it's such a historic structure. There have been endless amounts of films there, and if I was here and described all the films, I would be here all day telling you. But some of them do include some Harry Potters, Blackadder, Downton Abbey and Robin Hood adaptations. And now let's get on to some of the most interesting stories of them all. Legend has it that a man who was served and worked at the castle suspected his wife on having an affair. Aiming to catch her in the act, he actually climbed to the top of the castle and fell and died. Despite being buried though, he was actually seen around the town. People believe he cursed the town because animals were actually becoming sick and dying, so they went to go and dig him up. The men who went to dig him up actually then struck him with a spade and fresh blood came out. They actually burned his body and then just buried the ashes. Once he was burned and buried, the whole bad luck just stopped, which definitely proved that he was the reason that this was all happening, and it was all because he had cursed the town. To this day, the man is called the Oldwick Vampire. There is another ghost of the Grey Lady who lives here too, and she can be seen in the tunnels and believed to be the maid of the castle. According to the legend, she fell down a chute to the tunnels one day when she was working in one of the kitchens. The dumbwaiter, so I think that's like the lift that takes the food up and down, fell onto her, and that is how she died. So this video is so long. I would love to visit some of these places. Like, it's just so interesting to me. I mean, I need to find someone to go with me because I'm too scared, but these would be so interesting to see, explore, and I'll do other videos on them just because some of them do have so much story that I can't just do one video. Give me other places you'd like me to talk about or explore, and I will definitely look into those. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below your thoughts on the most haunted places, other videos you'd like to see me to do, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Goodbye guys.